look into the scenario in which Russia goes to war with Central Asia. And yeah, I already started coloring. Yeah. And so I'll finish coloring the islands in. And since they're gone to war with Central Asia, we will get rid of the war in Ukraine, because that's something that makes this scenario hard. And Central Asia is basically from Afghanistan all the way north to Kazakhstan. And so the war begins by Russia sending troops into Kazakhstan. Obviously. Russia's the strongest nation in this war. So they're going to win, but we're going to go slowly over it. With them pushing towards the city of Astana. I think they did change the capital name to Nershkwoodler. Yeah, and they push in. With a slow force. And they push south. And they have some success. And they capture the capital of Kazakhstan. But Kazakhstan does not surrender. Instead, Kazakhstan decides to keep fighting. Which is significant that they're still fighting. As Russia continues ravaging their nation. With the government having been moved, they managed to get south in Kazakhstan. And well, they get to this lake. Should look into the name. It's close to the Aral Sea, which is over there. Well, they continue north. And they take out this area of Kazakhstan. And they push south. And they start to get to these nations. And they have a lot of success in the Kyrgyzstan. And Tajikistan, which they capitulate. And then they push into Afghanistan, which does not get very far because of the terrain. With Russia getting one big setback as they are pushed out of this region. And with not very strong defenses being established, they're almost encircled here, so they decide to retreat. Russian troops retreat out of this area, with Kazakh forces moving against the lake and down, with Russian forces just fleeing. And they move north. And they're almost kicked back to the border. And they're starting to start losing ground in the war. They lose the capital area. And well, they continue there as Russian troops pull out of northern Kazakhstan, northeastern Kazakhstan. Yeah, this video has been going pretty quick. But now we will zoom in on this area. With Kazakhstan pushing Russia further back with its allies in Central Asia. And well, in Central Asia, now Russia starts its second campaign into Central Asia, which its biggest focus is on this area of Kazakhstan. Well, this area of Kazakhstan is where the coast on the Caspian Sea is. And they cross here. And the Russian forces land there and push up. But they don't do it successfully. But this time, they send everything they got to Kazakhstan, basically. 3/4 in. Which allows this to happen within months. But The only problem with this is that Afghanistan knows how to fight a war. But there's one more thing that happens, is that Russia takes over the northern half of Afghanistan, which is a big deal. They think the war is going to turn in Russia's favor, but then something massive happens. A big change in the predictions. Rebels pop up across Russian-occupied territories. And well, this is all funded by Afghanistan. Because once the war started shifting against the favor of Russia, everybody started revolting. By everyone. Well, it goes well at first for most of them. Especially in Kazakhstan. But they struggled to equip. A lot. But they keep fighting. And their war effort goes to success. With this area becoming a big rebel stronghold. And it's likely this will be a shorter video. And yeah, guerrilla warfare makes a war much harder. And with aid getting into these rebels, the gaining of land goes well. And well, they push to this lake. In here. With a regrouping of soldiers here. With a re-establishment of Kazakhstan. Despite the fact it's still mostly occupied. Russian forces get trapped there. And they are pushed into a retreat. But with a successful campaign, they get most of them out. With only small areas remaining, unable to be with troops left. So it looks like this. With a deal being made. Russia will give back some prisoners of war in exchange for these troops' for safe access out. But they managed to hold a campaign here. In northern Kazakhstan, with a second push towards the capital, which they encircle. And they start pushing in, but and they're pushed back. With troops fearing encirclement, they leave. They also fear encirclement here after seeing the big encirclements in the south. They kinda are hesitant. And they push up towards the border. But Russia starts a campaign here and they take the coast. Planning to choke out the economy, but really, supply can just come in through there. And well, they get pushed back. Especially in the east, so Russia can hold a stable front line. And in the north, but not to the capital. With a slow fight raging on. In some areas, like in this area, the Central Asia is success. And here, well, the Russians have success. And here they have a bit of success. And then there's a stalemate. Until there isn't, after a big counteroffensive in the north by Central Asia. And then they start a counteroffensive here. With Russian forces regrouping, they push out to this lake. and they start pushing this way. Well, the campaign gets really slow. And Russia tries to conquer some lost lands, but with a huge setback along this lake, with the lake being taken, and Russian forces retreating. Well, Russia's having slow advances. Well, the blue team manages to kick their forces out of here. Well, they don't, because they just leave to go to the other front line. The bigger front line. Russia continues its offensive in the Ukraine, forming a spearhead. And while this is a successful campaign, with them starting to make towards the capital of Kazakhstan again, which they think they're about to take, but they fail to take it. Well, they are failing. Their goal was for a quick victory in Central Asia is now looking like a failure. And lands are taken around the capital, with lands being pushed back to the water here. But Russia uses its strategies, but its strategies start turning against their favor. Well, Russia wants peace. They refuse to make peace. Russia comes up with one ditch attempt to take more land, so they do this. But that stalls out. They go crazy because they are crazy. And well, for some reason, multiple cities blow up, including Astana. I'm just going to assume the capital is there. I don't know where it is. Don't know where yours is. Nuke, nuke, nuke. They nuked every country. And so then, well, a bit more campaign is made by Kazakh forces. And a bit is made by Russian forces in this big front. And well, they basically end the war on this front. And this is where the war ends, with negotiations starting, which basically go in the favor of Russia more than favor of Kazakhstan. Almost took all of it. And they take these lands, and these lands. Well, they also take these lands. With these lands being kept independent. Russia promises to pay war reparations and clean up their disasters they made, but they kind of don't. Which is kind of a bit of their fault, yeah. So you're starting to realize these countries versus regions will end in stalemates, which I think I will continue doing. Unless it was like a smaller region, like if Southeast Asia is strong. But if it's a weak area, like there, which has bad economies and stuff, well, it might be a total victory. But I'll make it in a slower time, like move at like 2 instead of 8. And while they take these lands, Russia calls this a victory. But they also said they would pay war reparations and stuff. They failed to clean up the nuclear disaster, which is bad, because they brought it on. And they promised to clean it up, but now you fail? Russia. Well, now they're stronger. I hope this isn't how wars go. Because as you can see, nukes might be used in these scenarios. I'm not quite sure if they should. You can be the boss of that. I don't really want to be using nukes because, as you can tell, they destroy areas. And they also grow in size like this. And that, and that, and that, and that. They all grow in size. And after they grew in size, well, the world starts telling Russia, why didn't you fix it? Russia says, we are working on it. But really, they don't care. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a fat like and subscribe. And, well, one more thing. We are trying to get to 50 subscribers. I am. I'm 11 away. I think I can get there by the end of the year. So if you want to help with me achieving that goal, please like and subscribe. And that's it for today's video. Wild Mapper out.